Yo, what's up guys, Busha here, and today I'm going to show you my favorite Pokemon to take on 5-star and 6-star raids. I am going to show you Pokemon which you can solo raids with, but I'll also show you Pokemon which you need other people for. Without further ado, let's jump right in. One of the probably best raid Pokemon right now is Gholdengo. Of course, to get a Gholdengo you need 999 Gimmighoul coins and evolve a Gimmighoul. But Gholdengo is definitely worth it, since it's definitely a top 5 raid Pokemon right now, if not the best solo raid Pokemon. Today I want to show you two different sets. You can first of all use a Ghost Gholdengo and a Steel Gholdengo. I found these two to be the most efficient ones. On either set, you should definitely play Nasty Plot, Metal Sound and Recover. Recover just to stay healthy, and Nasty Plot and Metal Sound to boost yourself and lower the opponent's special defense. And then depending on the Pokemon you are fighting, you can choose your Ghost Gholdengo or your Steel Gholdengo, and then there are also different moves you can pick. For the Ghost Gholdengo, you can go with the standard Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is a nice step, Shadow Ball will do lots of damage, but if you have status on your team in some sort, for example if you have a Will-O-Wisp or a T-Wave, you can also go for Hex. Hex is a 65 base power move which doubles its base power if the opponent has some sort of status condition. Which means if you have a partner which can set a status condition on the raid Pokemon, you have 130 base power stab, which will do insane damage, especially if you're boosted and the SPDEF of the opponent is lowered. If you don't have someone who can most certainly put a status on your opponent, you can also run the normal Shadow Ball. But Steel Gholdengo is also an option. Of course you're going to go with the Terra type Steel here and not with the Terra type Ghost, since you only have a Steel attack. And then you'll again use Nasty Plot, Metal Sound and Recover. And then for the last move, there are also different opportunities you have. You can choose Steel Beam, which does a bit more damage, but will also cost you 50% of your health, which isn't that bad since you have teammates potentially healing you up and you have yourself for Recover. But if you don't want to risk that, you can also use Make It Rain, which is a signature move. It's basically a base 120 move, which will lower your special attack by 1. But that should still be fine. For items for these both, I recommend the Spell Tag or the Metal Coat, depending on which one you're using. Of course, the Terra types should be matching the move you're using. And I would recommend full HP and full special attack EVs, since that's the most efficient, with a modest nature. Then the next Pokemon, which is deemed to be probably one of the best raid mons out there right now, is Iron Hands. Yeah, Iron Hands, one of the new Paradox Pokemon, is insane for raids. Why? Iron Hands has the move Belly Drum combined with 140 base attack, which is just nuts. And then it also has pretty good bulk, since it has 154 HP base stat, 108 def and 68 special defense. Absolutely crazy. You should definitely run the moves Belly Drum, Thunder Punch and Drain Punch. Belly Drum boosts your attack to +6, and with Drain Punch, since the raid Pokemon have insane amounts of HP, even if you do not that much damage, you'll be healed up completely and can just start spamming Drain Punch. Of course, T-Punch to get your other stab in. I'd recommend Terra Fighting, by the way, but you can also use Terra Electric, depending on the Pokemon you're fighting and also depending on what you like. The last one doesn't really matter with this one. You can use Close Combat to get a stronger fighting stab, which is pretty cool for Terra type fighting. You can also use Force Palm, which is a bit weaker than Drain Punch, but has 30% chance to paralyze the raid Pokemon. Or you can use something like Earthquake, it's up to you. Then, for the EV spread, you should definitely pick full attack and with an adamant nature. And then you can choose if you want to go full HP, which gives you a bit more bulk for the FizDef side and a bit more for the SPDEF side. Or you can put all your EVs that you would put in HP into special defense, since Iron Hands is pretty bulky naturally on its physical defensive side. So that could give you an extra boost for special def. It just depends what fits best for you. As the item, I would recommend the Booster Energy, since with the ability Quark Drive it boosts your attack if you're full attack adamant. But if you have something that I'll explain now, next to Iron Hands, you can also go for a Lumberry, which could heal status condition, which you don't need if you have a fast taunt Pokemon, or a Citrus Berry, which could help you get up that Belly Drum easier, because you'll get healed 25%, since Belly Drum brings you to exactly 50%, and then yeah, you get 25 back, so you're at 75, which could be like some sort of emergency option if you want to go safe. But I would recommend going with Citrus Berry for exactly that reason, and then combining Iron Hands with Miraidon if you have the opportunity. Miraidon, pretty insane. Miraidon has the attack Charge Beam, which raises a special attack by 1. It can use Electro Drift, which is a 100 base power electric move, which deals even more damage if it's super effective. And it has Parabolic Charge to heal itself. These are the 3 moves I would most definitely recommend on Miraidon. And then for the last move, you can also vary depending on what you want and what your team composition is. If you're doing team raids, you can use Dragon Pulse, you can use Taunt, and you can use Metal Sound. I think these are the best 3 options you have for your last move slot. And as your item, if you're running Dragon Pulse, you could definitely use White Glasses, and if you only have electric moves, I would recommend the Magnet, since that's a 1.2 boost, and White Glasses are only a 1.1 boost. And then I would definitely run full special attack and full HP. The reason I'm saying you shouldn't go with Booster Energy if you have Miraidon on your side is because Quark Drive does activate in electric terrain, and Miraidon's ability does set up electric terrain, and then you can easily go for Citrus Berry to get your Belly Drum off more safe. But you can also use a Lum Berry. Of course, you could pair it with a Taunt Miraidon so you don't get status conditioned, but there are also moves with secondary effects that gives you a status condition. For example, if a Pokemon uses Flamethrower, for example, on your Iron Hands, it can still burn Iron Hands because that's Flamethrower's secondary effect, which won't happen if you have a Lum Berry, since that backs you up. So, to summarize, Gholdengo is insane, can solo raids, Iron Hands can easily solo raids as well. I would recommend Boosted Energy if you have Miraidon with you. You can pack in a Lum or Citrus Berry. I prefer Citrus Berry, but you can also use a Lum Berry. So yeah, we've talked about Gholdengo, we've talked about Iron Hands, we've talked about Miraidon. By the way, you can use Miraidon either way, you don't need Iron Hands with it, it's just an insane combination to use. So yeah, next I want to talk about some Pokemon which won't easily like solo raids, but are pretty good for raids to use in general. There is a Pokemon that will solo raids, but you need 4 of it, and that's Perrserker. I think that's the most known one. Perrserker is pretty insane, because his ability Steely Spirit, which boosts ally steel type moves by 1.5, is stacked. And if you have 4 Perrserkers, each of them gets a triple boost or a quadra boost. So that's pretty insane. And next, Perrserker also has Screech, which lowers the opponent's def. So what you want to do, you want to have 4 Perrserkers in a raid. 1 Perrserker uses Taunt on the opposing Pokemon, so the opposing Pokemon can't use status moves, and the other 3 want to use Screech to get that mon's def to -6. And then everyone will just attack with Iron Head. Alternatively, you can also use Helping Hand to support another Perrserker using Iron Head. So the optimal moveset is Iron Head, Screech, Taunt, and Helping Hand. You should equip it with a Metal Coat since that boosts your Steel types attacks. And you should definitely put on the Terra type Steel. And then full HP, full attack. Yeah, that is Perrserker, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty easy, but you really need 4 of it if you want to make it work. But Perrserker, if you have 4, if you have a group of people to raid with, it's insane. Then next up we have another Belly Drum Pokemon, which is Azumarill. Azumarill is also pretty nice. I think everything with Belly Drum is viable for raids. The Titan also knows Belly Drum, but I haven't found that to be that successful. Azumarill is though. You can easily put on the Water Terra type, full HP, full attack, Citrus Berry. Then you use Belly Drum, Waterfall, Play Rough, and then for the last move you can choose whatever you want, I suppose. I have put Misty Terrain on there just to get in that protection from status conditions. Misty Terrain even protects you from secondary effects of moves. For example, if a Flamethrower is used on my Azumarill, it can't be burned in Misty Terrain either way. But what you can also do is, instead of a Citrus Berry, play a Lum Berry and then maybe use Rain Dance so you can boost that water type attacks even more than your +6 attack boost. So I would recommend definitely on Azumarill full HP and full attack with the Adamant Nature. Always huge power, always Belly Drum, always Waterfall, always Play Rough, and then for item and last move you can vary between Citrus Berry and Misty Terrain, or Rain Dance and Lum Berry. Next up is Koraidon. Yeah, we've talked about Miraidon, let's talk about Koraidon as well. Koraidon is pretty insane. Koraidon has Collision Course, which is the same as Electro Drift for Miraidon, just that it's physical and a fighting type move, 100 base power, and deals even more damage than it normally does if it's super effective. Then it can use Drain Punch to heal itself back up. It has Sword Stance to boost its attack. And then for the last move, you can also vary again. You can use Dragon Claw. You can use Screech to lower the opponent's def even after having boosted your attack yourself. Or you can use Taunt, which gets you off a nice and fast taunt. And then I would just go full attack. And then you can choose if you want to go a little bit speedy or if you would just want to put everything into HP. I've just went with everything into HP for every Pokemon I've used since it just helped me the most. Yeah, for the item, I would recommend Muscle Band. I think Muscle Band is pretty good. Or if you don't have a Dragon Claw, you can also put on Black Belt. Same logic as with Miraidon. Black Belt is 1.2, and if you only have fighting type attacks, that's what you want to go for. If you have Dragon Claw as well, you can use Muscle Band to boost that as well. And then for our last great Pokemon I want to showcase, we have Ceruledge. Ceruledge is pretty insane. Ceruledge has a Muscle Band and Flash Fire here, with the attacks Sword Stance, Taunt, Bitter Blade, and Shadow Claw. Bitter Blade is a fire move which has 90 base power, which recovers 50% of the damage dealt, which is pretty insane, so you get that HP back up all the time. Then SD to boost your attack, Shadow Claw to get in that second stab, and then you can use either Taunt or Will-O-Wisp. Both are good. That's really, again, preferences. I like Taunt a little bit more, but it also depends. If you have another Taunt Pokemon on your team, you don't need Taunt. It just depends on if you're doing it solo or not, but Will-O-Wisp is just as good. Then Muscle Band, again, I think Muscle Band is pretty good, and then full HP and full attack. Ceruledge isn't the greatest Pokemon, but it's definitely something you can use to do good in raids. So yeah, what have we talked about in general? We've talked about a lot of attackers. We've talked about Gholdengo, we've talked about Iron Hands, especially in combination with Miraidon. We've talked about the 4 Perrserkers, about Azu, Koraidon, and Ceruledge. These are what I would think are the best Pokemon to go into raids at the time. But support Pokemon are also pretty good, especially if you're raiding in teams. And the best Pokemon for that, in my opinion, is Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is pretty insane. Grimmsnarl has also a lot of options you can choose and play around with. Always, a Prankster Taunt is insane. Just remember, you can't Prankster Taunt Dark type, since Dark types are immune to Prankster. But you can equip Grimmsnarl with a Light Clay, use Taunt, use Reflect, use Light Screen, and then for the last move you can use anything you want. You can, for example, go for Torment, which will hinder the opponent to use a move twice. You can go for Thunder Wave, and these are probably best options. Taunt, Light Screen, Reflect. And then you can go for either Torment or T-Wave. You can also play Spirit Break. Spirit Break is a move which lowers the opponent's special attack by 1, 100%ly, so you can lower that special attack if you have a special attacker in front of you. And then for the EV investment, you can just go with full HP, and then you can either play it physical defensively or special defensively. And yeah. That's everything I could tell you guys. These are my favorite Pokemon to do 5 and 6 star raids. Please comment below, what are your favorite sets to use at the moment? I hope this video helped you guys. Follow me for more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet guides. I'll see you soon, and peace.